a light on a hill, and you are watching Rolling Out.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Malik Brown, here for Rolling Out. Meet the author, and I have the pleasure to speak with a queen today. I'm speaking with Aiyisha T, Obafemi, author of A Light on the Hill. Miss Aiyisha, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. So, I don't even really know where to start. It's just this book that you made is just amazing. And of course, if nobody knows, you are the cousin of Tupac Shakur, and this is basically a book based upon him. So let the people know, what inspired you to create this book. And just start from there.
Wow, the inspiration was Pac. So this book actually was released November 1st, 2021. And 2021 marked his 50th birthday and the 25th anniversary of his death. And I wanted to just continue to shine the light on him and who he was. And I asked, some of my friends who are my family to participate and become contributors to this book. So this book holds stories and offerings of love and shares what he meant to these people, how he influenced people, and also sharing some of our upbringing and, family stories and things like that. So I thought it was very important to let people know that he still continues to make an impact on the world. And he always will, it's you can't dim this light. And I feel like he was definitely a light on a hill. And I just wanted to shine that light on him in that way.
Why do you feel like it was so important for you to get the story out there and be able to let other people that may have known him or were inspired by him to tell their stories about him as well?
Because there are going to be many stories. I'm not his only cousin, so if some of my cousins might decide, other cousins might decide they want to tell a story. So this, for me, I think it was cathartic for me. And I say that because, 25 plus now years ago when he was killed, I wasn't able to express, the way I am now. It was just, we were hit, in the gut. And so it was really, really painful. And I just I felt like this is what I needed to do for me and for people, and that's what really inspired me and motivated me to do this book.
And we know Tupac as a legend. Just, do you feel like he was speaking to you when you were thinking of this idea?
Oh, definitely. He's the reason why I did it. I kept asking, what can I do to honor his 50th? What can I do? What can I do? And that was definitely him coming to say, write this book. Just share from your heart. Say what's on your heart, and that's what I did. It was a labor of love. I literally took a year to do it, but it was a year that I don't know. It was emotional. It was encouraging, inspiring, and hearing, even the people that I know, who are in this book, they're all, I consider them family, hearing them share, their stories and actually speaking to them and hearing how it evoked emotion in them, talking about him so many years later, was something that I think we all needed, especially we did this, during the pandemic. So people are already in their feelings with a lot of things. So it was able to evoke a lot of emotion, for me asking, them to be a part of it and then asking them questions and them sharing stories about him. So very, very, very emotional, but also very gratifying.
Were there any things that you learned about him from reading the stories that you probably didn't know about before?
Wow. No, you know, even if I didn't know the stories, um, I know Pop. So he was very, you know, I know some people say, oh, he was this and that, he's hard and that, but very, you know, he loved people and he loved his people. And if you were, you know, someone who he considered a friend or family, then you knew that real person. You knew who he was. You know, when I listened to one of the most emotional people talking about him is Ed Lover, you know, and, you know, him and Ed were very, very close. And hearing Ed talk about him and then hearing Ed get mad about people who talk about him like they really knew him, but they didn't, you know, that's an interesting side too. But so I didn't, yeah, I heard stories that I'd never heard before. Um, I heard a lot of things that, you know, people said about how he inspired them to do better and be better and to educate themselves. So I thought that was really great. But none of it surprised me. None of it surprised me, you know. It made me feel good, you know, just to know that he's still here and still, you know, sharing his messages, you know, through the music even still to this day. Like some of these songs are relevant from 20 years ago and 25 years ago, you know, they're still relevant and even more so.
For you, have you always kind of had like a feel for being an author, or did it kind of just come when creating this book? Like how did this all start for you? Is just being
I do a lot of things besides being in this entertainment industry for 30, this year be 33 years, crazy. But yeah, I was an author in my youth. You know, I wrote poems, I wrote raps back in the day. So, you know, he's not the only artist in the family, no, I'm sorry. But I sing. I was the editor of my high school newspaper. So you know, I do have the ability to write, and I knew that I always did want to write books. And sharing this part, with this being my first book, is special to me. And now I'm ready to keep going. And you know, I have more of a story to share. I'm going to share my story, and you know, which he is a part of that, and the way we grew up, you know, as the children of Black Panthers and Black nationalists. So it's a lot of stories to be told and a lot of perspectives. And so I'm looking forward to sharing, you know, mine, and being a part of the entertainment industry. So it's a different, you know, it's a whole different thing.
so it's good to know that, you know, you had a family full of talent. It
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
just him. For you writing this book, just what was your favorite part about this whole journey? I know you said it was a year, you know, it was
Yeah.
emotional, just a roller coaster. But what was your best part of just writing this?
Just talking to all the people who contributed, you know, and knowing that they were very supportive, they were excited to be a part of it. And, you know, let's talk about some of these people. So the foreword was written by Sway Calloway, and the afterword was written by my cousin Sexual Shakur, Pac's sister. And in between, we have Angie Martinez, Omari Hardwick, Bun B, David Banner, Big Crit, April Walker, Shanti Das. I have my siblings, a few of my siblings, my brother Chaka Zulu, my brother Jeff Dixon, Jay, my cousin Grand Pooba on my other side, is my first cousin as well. So many people, you know, it's like you got to go through it. There are actually 50 contributors, including myself, to this book. So that in itself is amazing. And, you know, it just shows how much people loved him and how inspired. I'm trying to go through. Okay, Childish Major. I have D Nice. I have Debbie Brown. I have Free. I mentioned Ed Lover. I have DJ Trauma. I have Tuma Basa. I have Whitney Gail Benter, Mike G from the Jungle Brothers, Marshawn Lynch, Ralph McDaniels, Stephen Hill, Mac Wilds, and the list goes on and on, you know? So,
how did you pick the people? Like, did you email like a group of people and they just got back to you, or did you pick those specific people? Like, how did that process go?
well, what happened is I actually had a list. Like I wrote down just a bunch of names and I was like, okay, I'll just ask these people. And so I had an ask, it was a letter that, nothing long, but just, a request for, an interview to be a part of the book. So there was some people who responded immediately. There was some people who was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do it, and I won't talk about who those people are because, they're sad now that they're not in the book, but it's okay. But these people, like, they just were like, yeah, when do you want to do it? And just scheduled it and just kept it rolling that way. So it was a process, but not a hard process and not a hard sell either.
And some people may have not like met Tupac or personally know him, but like I said, Tupac, he's a legend. Like he's still people still bumping his music, people are still listening to his interviews. He was just, his aura was just, it's contagious.
Yeah.
So just how special does it know that he's still living, even though he's not here. Like his aura is just, like I said, it's just contagious.
Well, I think it's impactful because he made an impact while he was here, and he continues to make that impact, and he always will. One of the things that I always admired about him is that, how outspoken he was. And I've said it, before, he wasn't always right, and he knew that. And sometimes he would do or say things, in the heat of the moment, but then he'd come back, that might not have been the best way to handle it. Maybe I could have did it this way, and so because he was so young, and that's the other part of it too, I think a lot of times people really don't realize how young he was. And I'm not saying that excuses things, but think about it. If you are over 25, think about what you were doing when you were 20 to 23. You know what I mean? And how your mind was working. And then think about that happening to him, living in the public eye, just being authentically who he was, but then also having a camera on him because of who he was. You know what I mean? It's like a double-edged sword, Okay, you're the child of these, famous Black Panthers and the godson of Geronimo Pratt, so who are you and what are you, and then they're looking for something. So he's living in the limelight like that at that age. So when you think about why he reacted to things the way he reacted, think about what it's like to be a young Black man living in America. And you know why it's easy to think about that? Because if we think and look at what's happening now, he was already doing that. He was already living that way. He was targeted by police, you know what I mean? Like, and had to protect himself. And it was different back then. So think about what he had to deal with over 25 years ago and where we are with it now. And it's coming back. History is repeating itself. So what do we do now? What's the next step? Could you imagine what he would be saying if he was here?
And you hit it right on the head. You hit it right on the head. And I think he was really big on just empowering the Black community and letting people know like what's to come. And you, like you said, we're living in it right now. So for you, just how important is it to tell these stories from a Black perspective and letting people know, about all this stuff?
It's very important. And, just speaking about continuing, to educate people and let them know, proceeds from this book are going to the Tupac Amaru Shakur Foundation. And on the book, you can see the logo is here. And I sit on the board of the Tupac Amaru Shakur Foundation, and we're still doing work in the community and still, hoping to educate, young people, even help older people where tackling mental health issues, tackling children of incarcerated parents, um, arts and education, because he was big on that and big on the youth. Like his thing was to empower the youth and to let them know that they have voices, and to let them know that he heard them. So we are out here in the community still doing these things. His sister, my cousin, said she is the president of the foundation. And so it's very important, that we do these things and keep his name alive and let people know that we're still out here doing the work. So telling the stories is part of that, and sharing and letting people know who he was, sharing these beautiful stories and, remembrances of him, and even the young artists, who didn't get to meet him, the young people like a Marshawn Lynch, like a Childish Major, like a Mac Wilds, but he inspired them, so that's why they were like, oh yeah, I would love to, they can remember their older cousins or older family members who loved Pac, who listened. They might remember as a little kid the first time they heard a Pac song, or they saw a movie, or something like that. So his impact is felt, and that makes me feel good, and it brings a smile to my face.
Definitely. I love that. I love that so much. And I just want to talk about just the cover real quick. Just what went into the cover. Of course, his face right here, and it looks like a mountain or something or such. But
It's
but
clouds. He's in
yeah,
a cloud.
yeah. So just talk about that, and just everything surrounding the cover.
Okay,
It's right.
so the artist who designed this for me is named Mr. Soul, and he is from Cleveland, Ohio. He spent a lot of years in Atlanta, and he had to move back to Cleveland when his father transitioned to take care of his mother. So he is Mr. Soul 216 on Instagram, and he and I have worked together for over 20 years. And so he knows me. In back in the day when we first started DTP, he did the new Disturbing the Peace logo for me. He made our Ebony Sun Entertainment logo for me, and he's done, several other things. So all I actually did was call him and just kind of said the title and give me something. And because he knows me, this is what came. And that light on the hill, I'm sure, that's the light on a hill. So let's talk about the title. A Light on a Hill comes from the New African Creed. And the whole tenet goes, I will keep myself clean in body, dress, and speech, knowing that I am a light set on a hill, a true representative of what we are building. And we're talking about nation building and, building, a Black nation for Black people. And that's one of the things that, we used to recite growing up. And my brother Shaka Zulu actually gave me that title, because I was like, I need a title. And I'm brainstorming, I'm going, and I'm thinking too hard. Shaka was like, A Light on a Hill. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. A light on a hill. And that was it. And it was done.
Amazing. That hey, how everything just came to fruition. That's great. I love that. And it's something caught my attention. Talking about the Light on the Hill, and you talk about building a Black nation. For you, how do we get to that point of building a Black nation? Just in general, how do you think we get there as a country?
I mean, it's going to be this. There's going to be different ways to do it. And I don't even look at it as a country per se. I just look at it as within us. The first thing is that we have to empower each other. And, that's a longer story. But I will say we need to realize how important it is to empower each other, to be educated, to not be so quick to tear each other down, and to know that not one person has the right answer. It's going to take, all of us. You can't be over here telling me this is what I have to do, and then you over here telling me this is what I have to do. but we're never talking. And we don't have to always agree. That's the same thing in religion. You know, when you have Christians, Baptists, Muslims, we don't have to all agree. We don't have to all agree, but what we do agree upon is there's a higher power. So why can't we all agree that there's a way that we can all come together to make it better for all of us to live and to not take no shit from nobody? I don't care who it is. So when we talk about nation building and, you know, education and learning, I find it's interesting. I'm happy all at the same time that people are now wanting to learn about how we grew up. And, you know, I'm the older cousin. So I'll be 55 in a few months. And so I've seen these things and you know, been there when people laughed at our names and, you know, why y'all wearing dashikis, or, you know, what's that? You know, I've had my nose pierced since I was 3. So what's that? Oh, you African, you know, but now everybody goes to Africa. It's beautiful. It's great. Everybody wants to go. And I'm happy. But then I'm like, wow, it took this long for us to get here. You know, when I went to Africa, going to Africa, you meet Africans, but they don't have African names. And then when I'm asking them their names and they're telling me the slave names, which is what we call them, that they're given. And I'm like, no, but what's your name though? And then they tell me, and then they say, well, it's easier to say this. I'm like, but am I not in Africa? And they're looking at us when I say, my name is Aiyisha. What? Obafemi. What? Why? You know, it's like, why is that your name? You know, why? Because we have to connect with where we come from. And once we connect with where we come from, I think that we'll be better prepared to go to the next level, to get there. We have to be comfortable with who we are, what we look like, you know, the gap that I never closed, no matter how many times they said, do you want to close that? No. This is part of who I am. This is me. This is what you get, you know? Black is beautiful. So I just think that there's going to be different avenues. There's so many ways to get there. So as long as we keep doing the work, just little by little, you know, everybody do their part, we'll get there. It may take us longer than, you know, we would like. Like I said, it took me 50 plus years to see people now running to go to Africa. But they're going in droves. So that's a beautiful thing.
Like you said, it's all about the culture and just being true to yourself and knowing, you know, where you come from and everything. So that's definitely amazing. Just for the book, after writing the book, what were your emotions? How did it feel just to know that you finally completed this and it was done?
I still look at it crazy, like seeing my name on a book, you know, my friends buying my books and sending me pictures, and, you know, like so many of them just, you know, they're doing it. And I'm like, I'm honored, I'm blessed, you know, and I'm trying to sign everyone that I can, you know. I did one in store, you know, COVID so much, but I'm, you know, planning to do more. I want to do one in New York so that I can get my New York folks who are there, who are contributors, to, you know, come and be a part. New Orleans is another place I'm going to do one, and then I got to go to the West Coast. And oh, and I have to mention that Money B is also in the book. Once I said West Coast, I was like, yeah. And of course, you know, I didn't get a chance to get shot because he's not here anymore. But yeah, so it was great, you know, to have Money B be a part, you know, and we just talked about everything from when I first met him, gosh, when Pac was still a part of digital. And that was the first time, and we've been family ever since. And I love those guys, you know, and they always stuck by him. Somebody sent me an interview yesterday when Shaq was talking about when we were in court, when Pac got sentenced for that sexual assault case. And Shaq talked about how Pac was telling the judge, he said, you've never once looked at me or my lawyer in the eye. He said, so you asked why, you know, what do I have to say? He said, why should I speak? He said, you go ahead and do what you're gonna do, because I'm in God's hands. That's a abridged version of what he said. But, you know, Shock was saying that, and he was like, man, it was so powerful. And he said in the courtroom, we were like, we had tears coming down, and we basically did, you know, like that was such a powerful day. And, you know, just who he just was unafraid, you know, and unapologetic. And we need to be more like that, you know. You can't let people tell you who you are, and try to write your story for you, you know. And that's what I think a lot of people, you know, that I'm hoping that they're more inclined to do, is to tell their own story, to you know, paving their way and doing it with force if needed, you know. And I'm not saying that in a way that's bad, but we have to demand what we are owed and what we're deserving of. And just like everybody else, we're people here that are just trying to live and, you know, support our children, raise our children in a safe environment. We want to be able to walk down the street without, you know, folks coming to jump us, chase us down. You know, it's crazy when I think about these stories and how, you know, they target us so bad.
And you talked about the story with him when he was in court and everything. And I mean, of course, there's more stories in the book from other people explaining their experience and everything that that Tupac helped them with. But for you, and I know you have your story in here as well, but for you on a deeper level, just and you know, of course, he was his cousin, but what did Tupac mean to you? What did he do for you?
He inspired me. And although I am older, well, one of the things that I can say is that he respected me. And we always had, you know, that level of understanding or overstanding, as I like to say, where he knew that he never had to say anything, you know, like if he needed me, I was there. I was living in New York, you know, during the sexual assault case. So I was driving up to Dannemora every other weekend. And, you know, that was interesting because that's an interesting place, that prison. And those guards really didn't like him. And they made us sit closest to their guard table every visit so they could hear every conversation that we had, you know. But he said, you don't get tired of coming up here? And I used to just look at him and be like, but you're here though. You're here sitting here every day. So yeah, I'm coming. And we would just talk, sometimes about things, sometimes about the family, and sometimes about nothing. You know, we might play Monopoly and just, you know, just chit chat. But for me, he was the voice of us as youth. And everything that he said was what we felt and what we thought. And he just put it out there. So, you know, he always had my support. It's funny because, you know, it's a social media era now, but back then, you know, I didn't tell people that was my cousin. And not because I was ashamed of it, but I just didn't want people in my business like that. So when he got shot at Quad Studios, I went to the hospital and the cameras caught me and I didn't realize it. And so when the news reported it, you saw my face and people were like, oh my God, I saw you. You were at the hospital with Tupac. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was at the hospital. I'm like, and I was like, wasn't me. I mean, and people, they were like, Aiyisha. I was like, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about. So, you know, just that thing. But growing up, you know, we were you kept, you know, close to the vest. Ain't no talking. And then I found, one of my friends found this picture that's in the book. That's me and him outside of the courthouse in '94. And when he sent me this picture, I said, I've never seen that picture. And it was so crazy. So yeah, I'm in a couple of Getty images, like all over the place. And to use this in the book, even though my face is there too, I had to pay for it. Crazy. Crazy. But they were like, oh yeah, if you do that, you can use it as a promo image. You could do, I was like, okay, but I'm in it. That's me.
Well, you see what happened a couple weeks with Nas with the picture with him and Paul. Yeah. He trying to sue him. I was like, what? He in the picture.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I said, let me do my due diligence and just think that's Nas. You know, that's family also. But I'm like, yo, I was like, yeah, I want this picture. They was like, yeah, you have to pay for it. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's worth it. I'm gonna pay for it. And mind you, the picture has been around the internet, like everybody has posted it. I posted it. Lauren London, like different people have posted that picture. I was like, wow, guys. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. That don't make no sense. Look, wrapping it up, I want to thank you, Miss Aiyisha, for everything, for coming on and talking about this book. Before you go, I'll just let the people know when they get done with this book, what do you want them to know? What do you want them to know about this book? What do you want them to know about Tupac?
I mean, just that he was as real as they come. And, you know, this book, I don't want to tell people what to think, but I would say get it. Like it's really a great thing to have. And I feel like it's love in here. And, you know, A Light on the Hill is available everywhere books are sold. Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, Books A Million, everywhere. And just follow me. My name is Aiyisha the Blessed on Instagram. And my first name is spelled Aiyisha, and the Blessed, TheBlessed. And I'll be, you know, posting things about, you know, anything that I'm doing with the book. And you know, you can follow me just to learn more about who we are, where we come from. I post a lot about, you know, how I grew up. I post a lot about my heroes and sheroes who raised me. And yeah.
Love that. Thank you so much, Miss Aiyisha.
Thank you. Thank you, Malik, and thank you, Rolling Out. I really appreciate it.
We're glad that you came on. We're glad you came on. Everybody, make sure you go grab this book. I'm not done reading, but I will get done sooner than later. Thank you, Miss Aiyisha, for sharing this book and shedding the light on many people that want to know about Tupac. Thank you
so much.
Be
blessed.
Thank you. See you guys.